Welcome, one and all, to the Footnotes podcast, where we talk about how to rewrite movies and TV shows and make them bearable, or in some cases entertaining.
Competent?
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's giving ourselves a little bit too much credit. Welcome to Footnotes. My name is Ezra Block, and this is my brother Jacob. And today we are going to be talking about the one, the only
Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3, starring Tobey Maguire. What's the name of that other guy?
James Franco.
J.K. Simmons, and God. I've lost all. It's all gone. The name of the girl was MJ, which the actress she was in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind and Jumanji. Something Dutch.
Haagen-Dazs?
No. What are you talking? What are you? Haagen-Dazs?
Haagen-Dazs.
Hagen? Spider-Man 3. Kristen Dunst. There you go. See, the Dunst.
Well, no wonder we couldn't remember.
The Dunst sounds kind of like Dutch, if you ask me. So it makes sense that I got the names confused. What we usually do on this podcast, if you're new, is that we're going to talk through the parts of the movie that were bad, and then we're going to write down for each one, how we'd fix it and what we would do instead, and we'll come to the conclusion of. We'll just wrap it up by giving you some of the major story beats. So, to start off on the issues
major story beats.
Yeah, the major story beats. To start off on the issues with Spider-Man 3. Cool thing to note that I learned while researching this episode. Apparently it made like a ton of money. Like more money than Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 1. I think like $890 million worldwide. Spider-Man 3.
The hype, though. The hype.
Well, it's true. People were very excited for this film because it was supposed to have Venom in it, and he's a fan favorite for many comic book geeks. Also, Sandman. Sandman is a classic Spider-Man villain. I like to think of it,
And also the Green Goblin again.
Well, people were less excited for that, maybe. No, I was going to say, I like to think of it, if, the Green Goblin is like a dragon, right? He's like malevolent and intelligent. Like Sandman is kind of like campier and, he's not like overtly evil. So he's more like a beholder, by the comparison. He's not like super, maleficent, malignant, but he is very he's interesting in a way that other villains are not.
And Venom is the Decahydra.
Villains is the Decahydra. Nobody plays the Decahydra, Jacob. Get your mind out of this.
No one plays the Beholder.
This is the best.
No one plays a dragon.
What are you talking about? You don't play as. I mean, like nobody fights that. Like the best D&D reference you could make came out of like Stranger Things of all places. You couldn't summon one touch of. No, Venom is
because he controls minds.
Venom is more like a pit lord or like I was gonna say the Glabrazoo.
The Glabrazoo. Everyone knows about the Glabrazoo.
Yeah, it's like one of the bigger devils. But I think Sandman is probably actually Doc Ock is pretty memorable, but I think Sandman is he's like one of the best. He's in like the top 3 Spider-Man villains. Whereas Venom is very dark and gritty, and sometimes he's just a villain, sometimes he's an anti-hero, and sometimes he's like insane.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, and this movie is not kind to Venom. Eddie Brock I think he's got like bleached blonde hair, if I remember correctly, like bleached platinum blonde hair, and he wears like a leather jacket. He just looks like a douche, basically.
He is.
Eddie Brock. Yeah, he is. Yep, pretty much. And yeah, it's not kind to him. It's not kind to the character of Gwen Stacy either, but we might get into that later, depending on which way this goes. But I just wanted to say, that Sandman, I feel like, is the last good Spider-Man villain we got, because like the lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, not very interesting. Really, nothing really going on there.
No, I see. It's about eugenicism.
It is definitely not about eugenicism.
Because of the thing.
Have you been watching the YouTube channel Cinema Criticism again, Jacob? Or Writing Lessons? Have you been watching Writing Lessons?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. No, yeah, because the lizard is very interesting, and then
Cinemacism sounds like a nice name.
No. If we ever start a new channel where we talk about movies and TV shows, we should call it that, Cinemacism.
We're patenting it right now.
Someone's gonna steal it from us now. But
if anyone steals it, we have audio proof that we had it first.
It's kind of a douchey name anyway, if we're being honest. But no, because Electro isn't very interesting either, and the depiction of Harry in Spider-Man, and then the picture of the Green Goblin in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is not very interesting. And then the Vulture...
Green Goblin barely appears in the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. But he's not very... What I'm saying is he's not very good.
Yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has the same problem which Spider-Man 3 has, which is that it's trying to do too many things at once.
Yeah. It
doesn't have the exact same problems, obviously. In Spider-Man 3, they don't take enough things seriously. In the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think they take things too seriously for how the actors are portraying them, because the actor who plays Harry, he isn't super charismatic. He comes off kind of like weird and like sheltered, I guess. Like he's got the actor, I think, was doing something weird with the character, and it's the same thing with Electro, where Jamie Foxx's depiction of that character is kind of weird. I don't blame Jamie Foxx. I think he did a good job, but I don't think the writers did a good job of showing you what that man's life was like making you sympathetic about him. So then in that one, the characters are weird, but the plot is trying to be super serious with all this like weird, like there's this giant corporate conspiracy where they're mutating people. It's really messed up, right? But like you can't take any of it seriously. Jamie Foxx looks like Dr. Manhattan, and the Green Goblin guy isn't doing a very good job. And then to top it all off,
Dr. Manhattan looked way better than Electro.
And then the Rhino comes in. Paul Giamatti comes in for 5 seconds of Spider-Man fame.
And there was
it's the same problem.
There was going to be some guy, I don't know who it was supposed to be.
No, yeah, and then a man in a trench coat walks down a room full of weird gadgets, and you can't do that. You can't. First of all, you can't put three. Well, you can put 3 villains into a film, but those villains have to have enough screen time that their personalities are well identified, and that and typically those villains shouldn't be working together. They should be on either on their own side or in some neutral area over here, where they're villains to the heroes, but some of them might be like part of the overarching plot, but some of them are just villains that are pursuing the heroes for different reasons. You can't be like, oh yes, we're going to make a Sinister Six film. So we've got, or Sinister, I guess it was Sinister Six is what they were going for.
Yeah, that's what that was.
That's well, it was that or Sinister Seven. I was trying to figure out if
it's the Sinister Six.
It was definitely the Sinister Six because otherwise they would have fit in at least one other villain into the Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's the problem with Spider-Man 3 is it's like, okay, here's the Sandman, and here's his backstory, and also here's the symbiote, and we get to see Peter get rid of the symbiote. And here's Venom, and he shows up for all of 5 minutes at the end of the film, which is probably why it was such a disappointment. Like, it grossed a bunch of money. A lot of people went and saw it, but it was a big disappointment with fans and critics because they were riding on that, right? Like, the poster for Spider-Man 3 is, look, it's him, and then it's him with the symbiote. So obviously it's a Venom story, but Venom doesn't show up until 5 minutes into the film, which is the opposite problem that the film Venom has, where... he doesn't show up 5 minutes into the film. He shows up in the last 5 minutes of the film. Whereas in the film Venom, Venom shows up about an hour early into the film, and then they just have to make up stuff for him to do until he faces the villain. Like, fight a SWAT team, because why not, I guess.
We're talking about one movie here.
Very well.
Right. In Spider-Man 3.
In Spider-Man 3, yes. We're not here to badmouth The Amazing Spider-Man 2, or Venom, or The Amazing Spider-Man, or The Amazing Spider-Man 1.
What?
Sorry, I was going to say Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie, or the Spider-Man Far From Home, where it is very transparent that Mysterio is going to pretend that he's from another dimension.
Pretend.
If you're a nerd, like if you're a fan of Spider-Man comics, you know what is going to happen in that movie.
I've seen him.
It is the most transparent Marvel twist.
I just
coming from a mile away.
That isn't. Yeah. I thought it would.
Spider-Man: Homecoming is a pretty good film.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say that I think Sandman in this movie is a better villain than the Vulture.
Better than the Vulture?
In Spider-Man Homecoming. What do you think? You get less scenes with him, obviously, but you understand his motivations, and it still fits in kind of with the campiness of what's going on, and you get that beautiful scene where he's like watching himself crumble. Do you remember that? There's a part in the movie after he gets fused with the sand because he got chased by cops into a testing site, and they use this weird machine.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right, and then he like wakes up and he just like he's trying to get out, and he's watching his body is now made of sand.
Yeah, Peter Parker feels so good.
That's a beautiful moment. Like the score in that moment is amazing, and it's the one thing that these movies are good at. The original Spider-Man movies is they make you feel bad for the villains.
Right.
You know, you feel bad for Dr. Octopus and Dr. Octopus. You feel bad for Dr. Octavius, right, when he's going insane and his machine is starting to talk back to him.
I mean, maybe you shouldn't have put sentient computers in the tentacles.
Well, he didn't know that the giant sun reactor that he was building was going to explode, killing his wife and fusing the computer on his back into his spinal cord permanently.
Or destroy that one LED light that controlled the entire success of the tentacles.
I don't remember how he gets defeated in that film, so I can't speak to the efficacy of that claim. But
he sacrifices himself to save the city.
Yeah, no, I remember that, but I don't remember how Spider-Man shuts off his arms, or if Spider-Man shuts off his arms.
He doesn't. Dr. Octopus
But don't the arms want him to blow up the city? The arms are like, yeah, this is a good thing. They like talk to him. They do the thing.
He regained
They're like
his strength.
clapping, and he's like, yeah, that's not a good idea. And the arm is like, clap, clap, clap. And he's like, well, all right, if you say so. Something like that. I just remember it being very creepy. But it's the same thing with Sandman, and it's not that way with Venom. Venom is not sympathetic.
Yeah, we never hear it.
Well, Eddie Brock. Well, first, we never hear the symbiote, right?
Right.
Like it should be super painful for this symbiote that it bonded with Peter Parker, right? And then Peter Parker is like, no, I don't want this thing anymore. So he like
which is fair.
Yeah, right. Which is it's okay until you realize like if it doesn't have a host, it'll die, right?
Right.
And it's kind of like imagine if. I'm trying to think of a copacetic relationship. It's kind of like a
codependent.
It's like when. So let's imagine a creature. Okay, it's like those fish,
right,
that feed on the parasites on the sides of sharks,
right,
right. So they latch onto the shark and they eat off the parasites. And they hitch a free ride on the shark. It's like if you ripped one of those fish off the shark. That would be really painful for the fish, and then it would probably die.
It might hurt the shark too.
Also true. But I mean, like that's the symbiote should be sympathetic because either it should be sympathetic because he caused it pain, right? He like painfully forced it off of his body.
Well, yeah,
which was bad for it, and it's clear that it doesn't like being that way.
It was supposedly making him a bad person.
Well, it was definitely making him a bad person. The movie makes that abundantly
clear. It was all its fault. None of him.
The symbiote should either be sympathetic in that way, in that it's this alien thing and it's just trying to survive, or it should be like a Lovecraftian thing, like it's an alien. It has an alien mentality that you can't understand, and it's reaching into his mind and messing and like shuffling around the pieces. Basically, it should be either super scary, and we should like hear it like whispering to him, and like not all the time, like in Venom. It should not be always talking, but it should be maybe talking occasionally and influencing his personality to do things that benefit it.
I remember Spectacular Spider-Man, in which the symbiote directly controlled Peter to have him fight enemies.
Oh yeah, that's right. It took over his limbs and caused him to start
And at one point there was this entire argument of why he should stop caring for others and only care for him and the symbiote.
Yeah.
Yeah, between the symbiote and his memory of Uncle Ben.
The symbiote wants him to get stronger, because the stronger that he is, the more powerful it is.
Right.
So as long as Peter Parker is doing is jogging around the city every morning, then the symbiote naturally just the symbiote is better protected. Like if it's an alien species, it's trapped on this world. Presumably, this was not intentional. This isn't like a Invasion of the Body Snatcher scenario where the symbiotes came here. It was like accidentally. It survived in space, but then it crashed into here, and now it needs a host. It needs food, and it wants to be protected. And when he starts doing things that it doesn't like, it gets scared. And then it tries to take over, and then there's your conflict. And we have two ways that we can go about this, basically how we're going to form the plot. But going to the first issue, too many villains in the film, I have a couple of suggestions. First of all, I don't remember how Harry's arc ended. If I remember correctly, in the second film, Harry hired Dr. Ock to murder Peter.
Mm. Yeah.
He's like, you kill him,
and I'll give you these special medals.
And I will give you the things you need to build your sun reactor that will blow up the city.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ock was like, well, that sounds pretty reasonable. And then the arms were like, clack, clack. And he was like, yes, I agree with that as well. We should put that provision in the contract.
it's a very sophisticated language, the clack language.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so yeah, we shouldn't hear the voice of the symbiote, but we should hear like hissing noises, and then only Peter understands it, and only he hears it. Right? Like it should be that he's having a conversation.
So it's a direct parallel to Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. Peter is a nerd, right?
Right.
So he finds an alien. What is he? He finds an alien, and then the alien latches itself onto him. Is he not going to want to experiment with that thing as much as he possibly can?
I mean, he's supposed to be a moral person, so...
Well, it would be immoral to not to experiment on this alien life form and find out about biology on other worlds.
He did take it to a professor or something.
Yeah, he are you talking possibly about Professor Connors?
Yes, sure.
The lizard?
Yes, Professor Connors.
Okay, so there are too many villains in the film. So, a couple of things, right? Apparently, originally in the original script, or at least in the original vision of the film, oh god, god damn, what's the name of the director? He made The Evil Dead. It's gonna kill me now. Sam Raimi. So Sam Raimi originally didn't want Venom. He wasn't planning to have Venom in the film because Venom was because he didn't like the character of Venom. So Sam Raimi, he's a big nerd, right? And he didn't like Venom because he didn't think it was sympathetic at all, right? And that shows in his depiction of that character in the film. But what I think is interesting is also in the fourth film, he didn't want to go the lizard route. He wanted to go with the vulture, which does something. He wanted to go with the vulture, and he wanted to have Black Cat in the film.
I believe it's the Black Cat.
No, it's just Black Cat. He wanted to have Black Cat in the film, but then the studio was like, no, you have this Professor Connors character who's appeared in the previous films. And he's obviously going to be the lizard, so you should put the lizard in the next film, and then we'll have a cinematic universe. Sure. It really shows that because I know from what I've read, he was very creatively sapped by the time they started working on number 4, numero quattro, and then not only that, but Kristen Dunst. Mary Jane has no character development from the previous film, and in fact becomes a less interesting character over the course of the film. So this is another big thing. Having Harry reappear again, this is the too many villains problem. There's too many villains in this film. There's Sandman, so you have to introduce Sandman's backstory, show Sandman's origin, have Sandman... oh god. Make a change a fundamental part about the original story just so that you can manufacture drama between Peter Parker and Sandman, which is, may I say, totally unnecessary. You don't have to be like, oh yeah, Sandman was actually the one who killed Uncle Ben. That's like finding out that no, Darth Vader wasn't your father. He was your uncle. But the guy dressed up like Darth Vader, yes, he was your father. So it's first of all, it's contrived. Second of all, it doesn't add anything to the story. And if you can't come up with a reason for Spider-Man to go on a hate attack against Sandman, then
there's no point in it.
Well, it's lousy writing, isn't it? That you can't you can't make it that, Sandman attacks, they fight, Sandman accidentally kills someone who Peter cares about, now Peter's on a vengeance against Sandman. That's so easy. But instead they inject this plot point that is totally unnecessary. And also, may I say, just have Aunt May die already. There's too many. They're juggling too many characters at the same time. You've got Peter is supposed to have he has to have an arc with Mary Jane every film. We have to have an arc with Harry every film, but you're also injecting two villains into the story along with Gwen Stacy, which is a thorough disappointment, may I say. And then Mary, of course, because you have to have the romantic tension with Mary Jane. Mary Jane backslides. She starts flirting with Harry, which makes her character completely unlikable.
I mean,
like, it's one thing if Peter's acting like a jerk and she's like, "You're acting like a jerk. I don't want to be around you." It's another thing if, Peter's acting like a jerk, so I'm going to go flirt with this homicidal guy who has amnesia, by the way, which is so messed up that none of them tell him what is going on.
No, he has genetic schizophrenia. He
got amnesia, Jacob. He got amnesia in the beginning of the film, in the action sequence when he goes after Peter on the Goblin Glider.
Huh. So
you don't remember that plot point?
No, I do not.
Well, there's a lot to keep track of. So, too many villains in the film. As far as solving this, my suggestion. So, first thing. Okay, so do we want... Okay, so is this film, because it's advertised to be about Venom, right? Are we going to try and make it that this film is just about Venom?
Sure.
Okay. Because the alternative is, the thing I was thinking of is that, yes, we have the symbiote show up in this movie, right?
Right.
Symbiote bonds with Peter. That becomes part of the conflict, right? But then the main villain is Sandman, right?
Right.
And then Sandman is he's more sympathetic and he's not insane and he's not trying to destroy the city, right? Like the other previous villains. So he's not doing anything super bad, but he shows up as this new supervillain, right? He's like virtually indestructible. And Peter has to find creative ways to fight him.
Right.
And then Peter becomes sort of the villain in the film as the symbiote takes over more and more.
Right.
And then I'm imagining Harry terminates his arc in this film, but then we don't get Venom until the next film.
So there's going to be a Spider-Man 4.
Yes.
And we're setting it up for that.
Yeah.
All right.
In Spider-Man 4, Venom will show up, and also probably Black Cat is what I'm thinking.
All right. As another love interest.
Well, I'm just imagining, I think it'd be really cool, right? Like Spider-Man and another person fighting Venom. That seems like a cool visual.
Yeah. Also, I like Black Widow as a love interest.
Not Black Widow, Jacob.
Sorry,
Black Cat.
Black Cat.
Black Widow is
right.
not...
That's not the most interesting person.
No. Person. I thought she was a robot designed by S.H.I.E.L.D. to have emotions only when they needed her to.
Right.
And also to sacrifice herself in a really stupid way.
All right. I like Black Cat as a love interest.
Yeah. All right. That's cool.
It was going to happen eventually.
Okay, so improvement. So 1. Peter gets the symbiote early in the film. He is initially freaked out, but finds that it improves his powers.
Yeah.
When he uses it to effortlessly defeat Harry in the first arc of the film and send him to jail. Right, I imagine Harry is like juiced up on the goblin stuff, right? And he thinks he's super powerful. And then Spider-Man like creeps in because he's in the black suit, right? He just melts into the shadows, comes up behind him, and like beats him unconscious within like a minute. And then I'm imagining Mary Jane is like tied to a one of those, like a Dr. Frankenstein style setup, right? You got your arms and legs wide and buckled to a table, and there's like a tube running into her. Because I'm
imagining there's a laser pointing at you while Dr. Octopus goes
yeah, while Dr. Octopus cackles in the corner as his sun reactor slowly grows. With great power comes great responsibility. And all I can think of is when I think of the second film, I know this is really bad, but I think of that moment where like a car speeds by and a bunch of police cars follow after, and Peter watches, and he's holding a hot dog, and then he just like eats the hot dog really, really angrily, like in defiance. It's a very, very funny moment in that film. It's a great film, but I feel like that's an on par moment with in terms of like meme potential. That's an on par moment with him dancing on the street and dressed like an emo. Him angrily eating a hot dog.
Like a rich emo.
Yeah, yes. Well, there are very many poor emos. So catch my drift. Do
you mean to say that an emo's emotions are unjustified?
Of Harry in the first act of the film and send him to jail. Two, the main villain, Sandman, gets his origin. Peter experiments with the symbiote alongside Professor Connors, and Connors ends up I was like, and then Sandman accidentally cuts off Professor Connor's arm.
All right, here's what happens. Yes. Here's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
In the first act, in the
first act,
the Spider-Man versus Green Goblin fight.
Yeah.
Okay. Harry comes in and he attacks. He's all strong from the goblin juice, but then the symbiote latches onto Peter, and then he's got the upper hand.
Wait, the symbiote is just in the laboratory?
Yes.
I don't think that's a great idea.
What?
I feel like him defeating Harry should be like the summit of the thing's potential, and it's all downhill from there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I feel like we should see him like we see a scene where he like beats up thugs really easily, like even more easily than usual. And
he swings in and kicks them all at the same time.
Well, he's like moving like super fast is what I'm imagining. It like increases his reflexes, so he's moving like we get like a Matrix style scene where he's like leaping through the air as they're firing bullets at him because of how fast he's now moving. And he like defeats them really easily, and it's like pumped up. It's like adrenaline. He wants to keep going, so he keeps like so he ends up like staying out and fighting crime much longer. Like I'm imagining in the previous, like, because let's be honest, Venom is a metaphor for drugs. So in the previous film, Spider-Man was super tired of saving the city, right? He didn't want it to be his problem. He just wanted to go about his business and live his life with Mary Jane. He was tired of this responsibility getting in the way of things. In this, I think he has the opposite problem, where the symbiote encourages him to continue beating people up. Mm-hmm. And getting stronger and working out more and spending all his time and maybe it can be that the symbiote also wants him to read books. Maybe he's like reading a book while he's like eating breakfast, and he's reading a book while he's on the treadmill, and he's reading a book while he's getting on the bus, and he's reading a book while he's talking to Mary Jane, and the symbiote is absorbing all the information it can about Earth culture because it wants to understand its surroundings better.
So it can't just access Peter Parker's memories?
Well, I imagine it can, but it can't like absorb like its understanding. Like it sees his memories, but it doesn't understand what he understands.
Right. And how is reading a book going to change that?
That's like direct interface. So like I imagine it remembers. So like it remembers him riding in a car once, but it doesn't know what a car is. He knows what a car is because he learned it,
Right.
and now it has to learn what a car is, and so on.
But can he access Peter Parker's knowledge of what a car is?
No.
Why?
Because that's because it's more innate.
Okay, and he's
also,
going
my
to
thing is cooler.
And he's going to learn about cars by reading.
It's going to learn about cars. It's going to learn about politics. It's going to learn about what the
How does he learn to read?
Is. You know, it feels everything he feels. It absorbs the information that he absorbs.
Okay, so
his
memories
through his
are
eyes.
abstract to him, but what he experiences with the symbiote.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the memories is all stuff before it hitched a ride on him.
Right.
So that stuff, it can feel that stuff and it can use that stuff, but it can't understand it.
Okay.
It only understands it as far as his emotional state to those memories, pretty much.
All right.
So that's what I'm imagining. Scene 1, we see Harry talking to his father and opening up a secret passage. Oh, wait a second. Doesn't Harry forgive him at the end of the last film?
Harry,
At the end of the second film?
I don't remember what happens to Harry.
Spider-Man 2 synopsis.
Because before they...
Spider-Man 2, okay.
Because Harry actually, threatens to...
Harry is visited by a vision of his father in the mirror, pleading for Harry to avenge his death. Refusing, Harry shatters the mirror, inadvertently revealing a secret room containing... Okay, so that's at the end. Okay, so, yeah. All right. So that's it. So we see that Harry... we see Harry in a business meeting about Oscorp. And...
Is that how it works? He just inherits the entire company?
Well, no, but I imagine he has a position in the company.
Sure, okay.
Like he was grandfathered in before his father went insane and the board of directors tried to fire his father, and then the board of directors themselves were vaporized into skeletons.
Yes, that is what happened.
I imagine that... I imagine that Norman got something in writing, that Harry got a position. I mean, we can come up with something else. I just thought that would be cool for him to be at a meeting, and then like you can see on the side of his face, like there's like a trickle of green, like one of his veins is turning slightly green, and he's like he hides it slightly, and he's becoming like fidgety and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then maybe like on the way he's walking out of the meeting, and like a woman comes up. Like an assistant comes up with a bunch of notes and she's talking to him, and he like yells at her, and you can see that he's like losing it, and then he takes the elevator down Oscorp himself, right? He takes the elevator down, and in like the reflective surface of the doors, you see Norman talking to him.
In the mirror?
Yeah, in the reflective surface, because the doors to the elevators are always reflective.
Right.
Yeah, so he's talking to Norman in the elevator.
Okay.
And then so that's when we see in a meeting with Oscorp, and he starts twitching out. At an assistant and takes the elevator down himself alone, where he talks to Norman in the doors. Scene 2. Right, and then and then I'm imagining he gets more and more. He gets Harry, right? He's like on steroids, basically.
Right.
He's super strong. He just like smashes into the apartment that Peter and Peter and
Mary Jane
now own.
You were waiting for me to say Mary
No,
Jane.
I just wanted you to say it instead of me. That Peter and
Why?
Mary Jane now own, and he smashes in, right, and Peter tries to stop him, but he's taken so much of the goblin symbiote that he's like even stronger than Norman was.
You think Venom is a metaphor for drugs? Talk about Mary Jane, am I right?
Oh, God damn it. Well, and also we're talking about Harry being on steroids. Really, this is all about drugs. So then he kidnaps Mary Jane, flies off cackling. He's like, if you want it, you gotta come and get us, Spider-Man! Flies off with Mary Jane, right? Peter Parker is distraught, to say the least, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm imagining, or actually, no. Okay, so Spider-Man, Peter Parker, right? He's like fighting crime or something, and he sees this asteroid, right? This comet come down. Yeah. It smashes into a house, sets it on fire. Spider-Man breaks in, saves the family, right? Gets everyone out. And in the fire, he sees this black thing crawl out of the asteroid. And then he like traps it inside a jar.
Right. And then he goes to the lab?
Yeah. Okay, so scene 2. Peter is talking to Mary Jane on a headset while fighting crime. He sees an asteroid smash into a house and set it on fire.
A headset?
Yeah, they had headsets when this movie was made. Like a Bluetooth headset.
An earphone?
Yeah, like an earphone. I thought it would be funny, and we could get some nice romantic banter. You get that they have like plans for later that night.
But why do you want to wear an earphone? He hasn't become pretentious yet.
He sees an asteroid smashing and set on fire. He saves the family. He sees this black slime crawl out of the comet.
The comet?
It tries to
I think you mean meteorite.
Onto him, and he stuffs it in a jar.
A comet is made of ice. Okay?
Mary Jane talks with Aunt May about the new place the two of them have bought. Peter takes the symbiote to Professor. No, he takes it. Takes it to the apartment.
Right.
Because what I'm imagining is when Harry smashes in, right, and I imagine he like brutally hurts Peter, right, and then in the chaos, this jar gets shattered.
Okay.
And the symbiote slides out right after we see like the goblin fly off on his glider. The symbiote slithers out, crawls into
Peter's nose.
We see it like it like crawls up onto him, and then it comes in through his orifices. It enters through his nose because I guess it actually can like fade through his skin. So it crawls up onto his face, and then like it like touches him for a second to figure out what he's like, and then it slides into his body.
Yeah.
and then it like repairs him basically, so then the next time we don't see him then until so what I'm imagining is he takes it to the apartment and tells Professor Connors he needs to see him. Peter has a date night with MJ, and we see Harry prepping the glider and taking off his shirt to reveal that he's first of all he's super ripped and his veins are green.
Yeah. Gotta do those pull-ups. Yeah. Look at my abs.
Then okay. Harry breaks into their apartment, defeats Peter easily, and maybe like breaks his arm, and kidnaps Mary Jane. The symbiote escapes and melts into Peter's skin. Harry ties up Mary Jane in the same injection chamber that Norman used.
Oh.
And
this is interesting.
Yes, and rigs the machine to inject her with the goblin serum. And tells the machine and sets up the machine to inject her with the goblin serum because he says it will break Peter's heart.
And it'll also break your heart. Laurely.
Laurely? What did you say?
Laurely.
Laurely?
Laurely.
No, he's not trying to kill her. He wants to corrupt her. Like he's corrupted, and like his dad was corrupted, so that Peter will have to kill her.
All right.
He wants to drive her insane, basically, right?
Like Harley Quinn.
Not really, but sure.
Yeah, that's what Harley Quinn is.
No, that was more psychological manipulation as opposed to injecting someone with a mutant super soldier serum gone awry.
I'm pretty sure that's what happens with Harley Quinn.
I don't think that's true.
You're saying
at all?
She doesn't have the Joker juice?
No.
Joker venom?
No, Harley Quinn doesn't get corrupted by the Joker venom. She gets corrupted by the Joker by doing therapy with the Joker.
Okay.
And he psychologically manipulates her into becoming obsessed with him, and then
that doesn't just happen.
It's over the course of several months, I think, is the whole thing. And then she becomes, well, yeah, there's obviously something kind of wrong with her to begin with, but she becomes obsessed with him. He manipulates her. It's a Stockholm situation where she's unable to realize what he really is, and that he's just manipulating her.
I mean,
anyway, Mary Jane gets injected partly with the serum by the time Peter busts in wearing the black suit. Or maybe no, he busts in wearing his regular suit, moving super quickly.
Yeah.
and defeating Harry pretty easily.
Yeah.
Now, and should Harry go to jail or to a psychological institute? Or I guess the goblin serum, right? Like once you inject that into your body, there's no way of getting it out, right? There's not like a de-injector that Norman ever created. And most of the research has been confiscated, I'm imagining, by the military who funded this whole botched project.
Damn military. Well, I suppose then the government would just kidnap him and experiment upon him. So
Harry?
Yeah, so
So
they could try to reproduce it for the army. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing was that they didn't want the goblin serum from Oscorp because the rat trials proved a bunch of rats had gone insane.
Right.
So the general was like, you think I want that? That's like, I don't need a bunch of super soldiers running around in my army who are crazy and won't take orders.
All right. So what if Oscorp? No, that's dumb.
Look, either Harry dies or he goes to some kind of...
I wanted him to die.
Okay, so Harry dies here. And Mary Jane only gets partially injected.
Ooh.
While while Peter is carrying Mary Jane out, the symbiote manifests on his hand and tries to touch Mary Jane. Mm-hmm. And he swats at it.
Wait, so he knows what's going on? Knows what's in it?
Or no, actually, he probably does. Well, I imagine he just woke up and was super like pumped. Basically, he felt like rejuvenated, and his arm wasn't broken, and he wasn't sure what was going on.
Right.
And he didn't notice that the symbiote had gotten out of the jar, basically.
Right.
But yeah, so then it comes out of his hand, and he freaks out. Yeah. Peter experiments with the symbiote along Professor Connors. Or Sam in first act, Sandman gets his origin story.
All right. His origin story is
we see
he's poor.
Yeah, well, pretty much the American healthcare system. That's Sandman's origin story. We see Mary Jane becoming... Basically, I'm imagining she gets the same... So, Spider-Man has the whole thing when he first gets the spider powers. He's like super strong and things are sticking to his hands.
Yeah.
And he can sense things coming, but he doesn't know why.
Yeah.
I'm imagining that, but with Mary Jane, because she's partially injected with the goblin serum.
Like, almost exactly that?
Like, she's going about her day and she actually, like she's turning a faucet and she, like, snaps it off accidentally.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'm pretty sure this never happened in any of the comics.
Yes. No.
So, this
is just a last...
Right.
ditch attempt to save her character.
We're just sort of branching away from
We're just
the
trying
source material
to make the plot between her and Peter interesting.
All right, so she's got part of the... Yeah, she's part goblin now.
Yeah, she's part goblin. You get it.
And now she has schizophrenia.
Well, I'm imagining when we start out, we just see her super strong, really super strong and fast.
Yeah.
We don't. The other side effects don't manifest until later in the film.
Okay.
When she starts going nuts.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
Now,
see, Mary Jane. Mary Jane.
So does Mary Jane know Peter's identity now?
Yeah, she found out in the second film.
I don't think she did.
Yes, she did, because at the start of the third film, they're lying on top of a big net that he made and staring at the night sky.
Oh yeah.
If you were paying
I remember that now. I remember that.
Peter starts experimenting his new powers. Actually, how about Peter wants it out of his body? And Professor Connors helps him use a sonic device to remove it. Sandman attacks. He's basically invincible. And he defeats Peter.
But Peter doesn't have the symbiote right now.
Stealing drugs. No.
Stealing drugs.
Peter, actually, I'm imagining, maybe this wouldn't have been as relevant back then, but what if, Sandman, he breaks into the office of the guy who, he upped the price of the medication that Sandman's daughter needs. And, he, grabs him and, holds him out over the road, the 10-story building or whatever, and he's like, I'm going to kill you.
I know.
This seems like a thing that I'm just saying, if you got superpowers, the first thing you would do is probably get revenge on this
Medicare
asshole.
system.
Yes, on the Medicare system. Exactly. So he does this. So Sandman attacks. He breaks into the office of the company who creates the drug his daughter needs.
Let's call it Stark Industries.
Grabs the CEO. They don't make
they make everything.
It's not part of that pharmaceutical industry.
They make everything.
They do not, but sure. Grabs the CEO and tells him what he did to him and his family before dangling him out a window. And I'm imagining he doesn't actually drop him. He smothers him by sending his sand down his throat and up his nostrils until he dies.
Like what happened in the Pirates of the Caribbean, but with tentacles.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I imagine he's holding him by his neck, right? And then his fingers grow longer because he can shape them, and they cover his entire head, and then they start to melt, and the sand draws into his body.
Melt.
Manipulate. And they turn from the solid finger into liquid sand.
Liquid sand.
Yeah, they move like liquid.
It moves like liquid, but it's still just sand.
But they move like liquid, and that's the part that's important, Jacob.
All right. Because I wasn't sure what you were doing.
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying.
No, I don't. Liquid sand?
It's not that complicated.
That's milk.
He can change the consistency of his body, right? If he wants to be super dense, he can make himself super dense. And if he wants to make the sand super loose, he can do that too.
It still isn't liquid. It's just sand.
But it moves like liquid. That's the part that's important.
Oh, I don't want. Moves like
and
liquid.
smothers him with sand. Some security guards shoot him, and the bullets pass harmlessly through him.
Because he's made of sand.
Yes. Peter shows up.
Or does he just absorb them and then spit them out?
Well, I was thinking there's two things. He either makes himself super dense, so then the bullets hit and then they just like knock off like Superman.
Yeah.
Or the bullets hit, like a little bit of sand spurts out of his body, but then like the wound closes up as he changes it to look like himself again. Or he makes himself super. What's the opposite? The opposite of dense. He makes himself super. Puts a lot of room between the particles.
Yeah.
And the sand. Yeah, the bullets just pass through him.
I think any of the three sound fine.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter.
Well, and also he can do all three of those things like at various points as he's beating up these guards and people are shooting him and attacking you. Or like as Spider-Man is like attacking him with different things.
Right.
As Peter is attacking him with different things. He can be making himself either like hard as stone to like absorb the impact of something or make it that something passes right through him.
All right. Yeah. We'll that will be discussed in the directing department.
Yeah, exactly. Peter fights Sandman. Sandman wins.
Peter fights Sandman. Sandman wins.
Triangle Man hates Particle Man. They have a fight. Triangle wins.
Triangle Man.
Triangle Man. Triangle Man. All right. So then he. So I'm imagining. What am I imagining? I'm imagining Mary Jane.
Mary Jane.
Start seeing Harry, probably.
Right. Not Norman?
Well, why would she see Norman? She didn't have a relationship with Norman.
Well, it's just that Norman...
Yeah. Harry saw Norman because Norman was like a figure in his life.
Sure.
If we wanted to be, it's like, oh, it's Mary Jane's mom, and then we get like some backstory with her. But I was imagining Harry because she dated him.
This isn't how schizophrenia works.
He injected her with the mutant drug and all that.
Because it was hereditary, it didn't come from the goblin goblin serum.
What? The schizophrenia?
Yeah, that isn't how it works.
No, the goblin serum caused you to go insane.
Yeah, but it didn't cause schizophrenia. Because
it doesn't matter. It's a comic book film. It didn't cause schizophrenia. It caused you to hallucinate that someone else was talking to you.
Yeah, but Norman was hallucinating.
Yeah, you hallucinated that the goblin...
Harry was hallucinating that his dad was talking to him.
Yes, and Norman was hallucinating that the goblin was talking to him.
Right, but Harry didn't... He didn't have the goblin serum in him at that point. See?
Oh, well, Harry was just insane, I think is the thing.
Right. It's two different things.
Harry was, yes, it actually is, I think. Harry has had some kind of mental issue. Norman only
like Norman.
No, Norman only went insane after he got injected with the thing, murdered the first person he saw, and then he went into a
the
fugue
serum
state,
exasperated the thing, but
no, it did not.
Fine. The serum causes hallucinations.
Mary Jane it clearly causes hallucinations. Jesus Christ. Starts having hallucinations of her mom.
Mm-hmm. Was her mom a thing?
I don't think that you ever see her in the series. You see her dad, and he's a jerk, if I remember correctly. But you don't see her mom. So I imagine her mom
the
is
police officer. No, that's Gwen Stacy's mom.
No, you're thinking. Wait, Gwen Stacy's mom isn't a police officer. Her father is the captain.
Gwen
of the
Stacy's
police.
dad. Yeah.
What is wrong with you today?
I just misspoke. I meant to say dad.
All right. So then Eddie Brock, right? Eddie Brock. We have to inject him into the story at some point, right?
Inject.
Okay.
All right. So he works at the Daily Bugle, right?
Yeah. Okay. So we get introduced. So probably in place to do them, but the apartment does to see him. We get a scene with Jameson.
Yeah, just call him Jameson.
Yeah, interviewing Eddie for a job there.
Yeah. All right.
Peter takes Eddie under his wing and shows him the ropes. Eddie asks if he could meet Spider-Man, because Pete gets all those real neat photos of him.
That's what he does.
But Peter says that isn't a good idea. We see that. Oh, okay. I know what happens. Harry. At this point, Harry is super pumped up. He kills his assistant, and he sees Mary Jane talking to him.
Right.
And telling him what to do. All right. Okay. First act, we get, and then Sandman origin story there. Okay, and then I'm imagining Eddie Brock gets pictures of Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the Sandman case.
He's on the Sandman case, right?
He's on the Sandman case.
Right.
And suggests the name Sandman, which Jameson rebukes, preferring beach monster or something absurd. I'm imagining Eddie is kind of like an easygoing guy, who's like he's kind of ambitious. He wants to move up in the world, but he's not like he's like a nice person, pretty much.
Right.
And then Peter fights Sandman and saves Gwen Stacy from getting accidentally killed by a crane. Sandman wins. Mary Jane starts having hallucinations of her mom and hides it from Peter. I
mean,
what?
How
you think she wouldn't hide it?
How?
I feel like she would hide it.
All right. So I say hides it from Peter.
Yeah, she hides it from Peter.
And then she just starts getting meaner angrier.
No, we'll get to that. We'll get there. Peter tells Aunt May he's going to propose. And we get one final Aunt May scene.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you can feel it coming, can't you? Eddie meets up with his girlfriend, who is now obsessed with Spider-Man. I'm imagining that, like, Gwen is like...
We're introducing another character.
No, Gwen. His girlfriend, Gwen. Gwen is still his girlfriend.
Eddie...
in this situation.
Gwen is Eddie's girlfriend.
Yes. But imagining... Or if you want, we can make it like, oh, it's not Gwen Stacy, it's Eddie Brock's sister.
Eddie...
Which I like better, but...
Eddie Brock was married.
Okay. So it could be his wife, but I'm imagining he's like a younger guy in this situation.
Sure. Yeah, so his girlfriend is Gwen Stacy.
Okay. Well, I was also thinking it could be his sister who Spider-Man saves. Susan Brock. Gwen. It's not Gwen Brock. Susan Brock. Winifred Brock.
I'm already tired.
Well, we don't have too much, but I'm imagining. So Eddie meets up with. We can wrap it up now, but this is a good. The baseline is what I'm imagining. Right, is second Sandman attack. Right. Okay. Eddie Brock's on the case.
Okay.
Eddie Brock suffers. He gets too close. Basically, he suffers some kind of head injury. Also, Aunt May gets accidentally killed in the process of the Sandman attack, and Peter's what?
You said Ant-Man.
No, I said Sandman.
You said Ant-Man.
I said Sandman, damn it. No, Aunt May is accidentally killed in the second Sandman attack. It meets up with his sister who's now obsessed with Spider-Man. Aunt May is accidentally in the second Sandman attack, where Sandman is just stealing a bunch of shit. Spider-Man is defeated again.
Of course. Hey, I should have this cool idea.
Breaks into the lab.
What if I used that weird goo thing that I found in a meteorite?
Yeah, I'm imagining he breaks. This is the point where, right? Or actually, what happens after this is first, Mary Jane, insane,
right.
Breaks up with Peter and tells him not to talk to her ever again.
Right.
I'm imagining her mom is telling her to kill Peter.
Right.
And she doesn't want to hurt him. And she thinks that she's insane and there's no way to cure it, so.
Right. Sure.
Spider-Man breaks into the lab and bonds with the symbiote.
That was quick.
Yeah.
And by bond, I really mean bond.
I'm trying to figure out a good way for Eddie's story arc to progress naturally. I was thinking like maybe instead of Aunt May getting killed, like Eddie's sister accidentally gets killed. Or and he blames Spider-Man. I'm trying to figure out how to foster that kind of enmity.
The original conception of Eddie Brock was going to be that she was a woman who had a miscarriage during a fight between Spider-Man and I think the Rhino, and that's why she hated Spider-Man. Can you do something with that?
Well, that's fascinating. But I don't know how to inject that into the story in a meaningful way. The only thing I can think of is Eddie Brock gets crippled in the fight between Spider-Man and Sandman.
All right. And his cripple
and maybe Eddie is like, he's kind of sympathetic to Sandman at this point because he's been researching him.
Eddie isn't an important character in this movie.
No, but we want to set up his story arc.
Right.
So that, because you can't be like in the fourth movie, here is Eddie Brock, and this is all this backstory that he had, and now he's injected with the. I mean, you could, I guess, you could save the backstory for them,
because he probably shouldn't be mentioned in the third act.
I think he should be crippled, because then the symbiote can fix him.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going. So that's what I said.
Eddie is crippled in the fight with Sandman. And then we can also his girlfriend broke up with him over text.
Right. Yeah, that's and he was fired because
he's crippled now.
Yes.
No, he's not fired, but I would imagine he's like taking a leave of absence while he's recovering in the hospital. He doesn't need to be fired. He's still technically working there.
Because that's what happened in the comics.
Well, no, we can get, it doesn't have to be, that's what happened in the comics. We'll get there, okay? We'll get there when we get there. All right. Pete and the symbiote beat up Sandy and almost kill him. Peter realizes what he's doing. And starts to rebel. The symbiote, starts hissing at him.
Should we simplify now?
Yeah. Well, we can call it a night, basically. But
I mean, I don't want to have to do this again.
What I'm thinking of is imagining Mary Jane. Right.
Yeah.
She's got the goblin powers.
Okay.
She goes nuts.
Okay.
I'm
just trying to imagine her character, on the goblin glider.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't have to be on the goblin glider. She can be like jumping around, because she's like super agile. It can be.
Sure. She's jumping around.
Like, I'm imagining her jumping on top of a bus and then jumping from the bus onto somebody's balcony.
Okay. Why?
She's on some kind of rampage. I don't know. She's going crazy.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, crazy people don't think for a reason. They're just crazy.
Oh, here's what I've got. So then Mary Jane could break into the mansion,
yeah.
Mary's mansion.
Yeah.
Breaks into the mansion.
Okay.
Uses the rest of the goblin serum on herself.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
All remaining vials of goblin serum.
Okay.
And then she's like, she like kidnaps somebody.
Okay.
That Spider-Man knows to call him out because she wants to kill him.
And who would that be?
Well,
actually, I think he would probably go just for Mary Jane.
Would she know? Yeah, she would know that then. So then she would be like Spider-Man, come meet me.
Yeah.
So she like grabs like a news. She kidnaps a news reporter, right, and gets her like face out there, basically. And I'm imagining she can be the Jackal, sort of. You know what I
The
mean?
Hobgoblin.
I guess she could be the Hobgoblin. Like that would be disturbing if her face was all like white and her eyes were red. If that's like the effect that it has on her, or that's like the costume that she like throws together. I imagine she's like homeless and living on the streets by now because she's gone crazy and she's super powerful.
All right.
So she can be like wearing tatters, basically.
Fingerless
like
gloves.
Yeah, fingerless gloves, rags, right? She's like smeared with dirt and stuff. And super messed up.
And she somehow got a bright orange jumpsuit.
No, it doesn't have to be exact, Jacob. Why do you have to question every little thing?
Okay, so she's the Hobgoblin.
She's the Hobgoblin. She breaks into Harry's. She breaks into Harry's house. Yeah. She takes all the remaining vials.
All right.
She takes. I don't know if there's any more like Goblin paraphernalia left over that Harry didn't use. Probably the glider is left.
Probably a lot more.
Yeah, the glider is left because the glider wasn't destroyed when Spider-Man broke in. Yeah, so she steals all the bombs. She steals the glider. She blows up the house.
Yeah.
And then she like goes on a rampage throwing bombs and destroying shit. Right? And then I'm imagining
she's suddenly skilled at using the glider.
Well, she's super like coordinated, Jacob. She's got the Goblin serum.
Okay, sure.
Wait. Harry never trained how to use the. I don't know. Neither did
Maybe
Norman.
he did.
Norman wasn't taking lessons on how to operate the glider. He was hiring people to do that stuff.
Right.
You gotta start questioning the logic of the universe.
Sure.
So, Mary Jane becomes the Goblin.
All right.
I'm imagining, right, yeah. So Peter Riser starts to rebel. The symbiote starts hissing at him.
All right. Mary Jane's going crazy.
No, I've got it. Okay, so yeah. So Peter the symbiote beat up Sandy and almost kill him. Peter has a nasty encounter with Brock. With or I was thinking maybe he has a nasty encounter with Eddie Brock's girlfriend because his girlfriend like tracks him down and she tries to like make out with him and he like pushes her off and gets really angry at her.
Why?
Because he's really messed up at this point.
Right, and
his mother figure is dead. Mary Jane broke up with him. He almost killed somebody, and now the symbiote is like convincing him that this is a good thing and we need to like keep going, man.
And Gwen Stacy's trying to make out with Peter.
Yeah, she's trying to make out with Spider-Man. I imagine she's like stalking Spider-Man at this point. She's obsessed with him.
Right.
So she's obsessed with him. She stalks him.
Hang upside down and lift your mask.
He freaks out and like hurts her, basically. And then like he starts he freaks out, he hurts her, then Eddie gets mad at him for hurting her, right? Even though she's broken up with him by now. He still cares about her. Okay. He's like in crutches, right? He's like yelling at Peter.
Okay, well, not crutches.
Well, he's not in a wheelchair.
Yeah, sure, crutches.
Crutches. I don't know. Crutches seem like the best thing. Anyway,
I was thinking of a walker.
But then that would be Harry instead of Peter. Or what if? No, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know, but basically, yeah, he like hurts her, and then like maybe Mary Jane tries to. She comes back to Peter and like begs him to help her, and then the symbiote forces him to say no to Mary Jane. And then he realizes the symbiote is a bad thing, and he goes to Professor Connors.
All right. So the climax.
And they remove it again.
Okay. And then
Spider-Man fights the Hobgoblin, and the Sandman helps him.
Okay.
I'm imagining.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mary Jane dies.
And
then Eddie Brock is like, he's tracking Spider-Man at this point because he beat up his girlfriend.
Okay.
Or he hit her, but like, yeah. So he's tracking Spider-Man. He got to Connor's laboratory. Connors is killed by the symbiote, and then the symbiote jumps into Brock.
Right.
When he's examining like the bloody glass and shit, and he thinks that Spider-Man has killed Connors, and then the symbiote like a face hugger throws itself out onto him.
Right. So the symbiote had an attachment to Connors.
No, it didn't. It killed him. It didn't try to get inside his body because it knew he wouldn't be a strong enough host for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. He throws his face at him.
Yeah, I'm imagining like when the first time they remove the symbiote, it's from him. It's super. They're very careful with it, and then the second time they're messed up, and they like Connors accidentally doesn't flip a switch that like the extra precaution that keeps it safe, and the thing slips out of whatever container they put it in. Then Peter leaves to fight the Hobgoblin. The symbiote ambushes Connors, rips off his arm.
Of course.
And then, rips off his arm. He dies of blood loss. Brock thinks that Spider-Man did it, and then the symbiote jumps into him.
All right.
And then, thus concludes...
Wait, Eddie Brock had an attachment to Connors?
No, but he thinks that Spider-Man is a murderer, basically.
All right.
And then the symbiote is going to use that in the next film. It's going to mess up all Brock's memories. Because it's going to manipulate him like it manipulated Peter.
I mean, what I'm thinking is he's going to write an article about Spider-Man being a murderer, and then...
Well, he still has his job, so he can totally do that in the next film.
Right. And then somehow Spider-Man will prove that incorrect, and Eddie Brock will be fired.
And... Well, but then at that point, he already knows that Spider-Man and Peter Parker are the same person.
Yeah.
I like your train of thought, though. There's something to that, maybe.
Right.
Unless Connors dies earlier in the film, maybe.
A
lot of people are dying left and right. Maybe too many. I don't know.
Maybe the symbiote doesn't yet... What? I was saying maybe if the symbiote doesn't yet tell Eddie that Peter's Spider-Man. Right. And whatever.
Well, what if right, so he gets crippled in the fight against Sandman. He publishes an article where he blames Spider-Man for Aunt May dying, basically. Okay. He says that Spider-Man is responsible for what happens. He gets fired because Jameson hates Spider-Man, but he doesn't hate him that much, is what I'm imagining.
Because that would deter him from making more articles about Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, I'm just imagining like he thinks that, like, I'm imagining, or maybe no. Actually, I was thinking is then Peter, because he still has the symbiote in him. He sees Brock as blaming him for killing his Aunt May, right?
Right.
So he freaks out and attacks Brock.
Right.
And then that's part of the antagonism. And then Brock follows Peter back, finds out Peter's Spider-Man, follows him to the lab, and then finds the dead body, and the symbiote jumps into him.
All right.
Okay. And that's the conclusion. And then Sandman drifts off into the wind. I'm not a bad person. I just make bad decisions. I don't want to go. Yeah. I think that's good.
All right.
We actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we didn't solve the villain problem. We put an equal number of... no, because Venom doesn't show up in the last act. The symbiote is sort of a villain throughout. So technically there's more villains if you think about it. Or the same amount, really. The same amount. There's Sandman. There's also... Actually, there's more. Yeah, because there's Harry, and then there's the Hobgoblin, and then there's Sandman, and then there's the symbiote.
Okay. Well, this was...
And very informative. This is interesting. I think we've put together a pretty good film. Although at the end of it, everyone that Harry knows is dead, which is kind of messed up. It sets us up to introduce it, or maybe he's figured out a way to reverse the Goblin Serum. Maybe Connors has been working on this thing with him, and
so he doesn't die.
But then it would mean that Mary Jane doesn't die.
All right, but Harry doesn't get killed by Spider-Man.
No, I mean Harry probably got killed.
All right,
because this would be before they developed I imagine they only developed the cure after Mary Jane got injected because they were trying to figure out a way to cure her.
So Harry didn't research the cure. It was just Oscorp or something.
No, I was imagining Connors and Peter were working together to research a cure for the Goblin Serum.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think that's fine.
So then Mary Jane is alive at the end of the movie?
Yes. Well, how does that work?
He injects her.
Right, injects her with the cure.
Yeah, he injects her with the cure.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. And Sandman distracts her while he injects her.
All right.
Or maybe actually, I imagine Spider-Man doesn't ask Sandman for help. He fights. He appears. He fights the Hobgoblin, right? And then Sandman shows up and he's like, "What you're doing, blowing up half the city is wrong. I'm gonna stop you."
Yeah.
And then with Sandman's help, Spider-Man injects her with the thing, and she comes out of it, right?
Right. Yeah, that's good. Are we done now?
Yes. Okay. So thank you for watching. I got some good suggestions here. We didn't actually. It's not super coherent, but we got a good outline. We got some good scenes, some good character moments, I think.
Yeah.
So if you liked what we did with the Spider-Man 3, then please leave a comment and tell us how you would change the movie, or if you would, what elements you would scrap, if you would keep the Venom part, any of it. And we will see you next episode, which will probably be a TV show at this point. And either
how about
Buffy the Vampire Slayer
season 5?
We could definitely do, probably be Buffy the Vampire Slayer, either season 5 or season 6. We're not sure yet. So, thank you for watching, and please have a nice day. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. All right, that's enough of that.